test coming up. To prepare for the test, it is going to cover the 3 big topics that we've looked at so far this class: voting, weighted voting, and cryptography. So for voting, we learned 4 different methods and 4 fairness criteria. If you look at page 9 of the packet, there's a little summary of the methods. So let's take a quick look at that. Voting method summary. These are the 4 methods, the 4 fairness criteria. You can bring this to the test with you. Okay, so yeah, you can bring that whole page with you. Yep. You should be familiar with the vocabulary of voting. What is a majority? What is a Condorcet candidate, etc. Lots of vocabulary in there. Tactical voting and Arrow's impossibility theorem. And then weighted voting, chapter 2. We learned 2 methods, Banzhaf power index and Shapley-Shubik power index. Pages 7 and 8 of this packet have a little summary on how to do each of those. Take a quick look at that. Shapley-Shubik, Banzhaf. You can bring both of these pages with you to the test, pages 7 and 8. Yep, so you can bring 7, 8, and 9 with you. You should be familiar also with the vocabulary of weighted voting, which is like veto power, dictator, coalition, sequential coalition. Weighted voting notation, which is the square brackets. What does this particular one say? What kind of voting system does this look like? Or describe it. What does the 6 represent? The quota, yep. And then what do the 4, 2, 2, and 1 mean? Those are the votes that each player has. Good. So how many total votes are in this system? 9. Add up the votes of each player's. 4 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1 is 9. Good. And then you need to be able to find the 2 power indices, BPI and SSPI, Banzhaf and Shapley-Shubik. Yes. By themselves. A dictator is someone who can meet the quota by themselves. Yep. What is veto power? We never explicitly discussed it in class. Just asked you to read about it. Yeah, someone who is not a dictator. They don't have enough votes to be a dictator, but they have the ability to veto anything because there's no way to create a winning coalition without them. Yeah, in this case, player 1 has veto power because 2 plus 2 plus 1, all the other 3 players together can't meet the quota. So the only way to get to 6 votes is to get player 1 on board, right? No matter what you want to do, you have to convince player 1. If they don't want it to happen, it won't happen. So we would say player 1 has veto power in this case. All right, and then our last topic, cryptography. You should be able to decode and encode with all of our ciphers. Caesar, shift, another kind of shift, right? Caesar is just an example of a shift cipher. I could give you some other shift. Bifid, that's the 5x5 square. Visionaire, that's the keyword over and over and over again. AutoKey, that's the keyword plus the message itself. And we also did a small foray into modular arithmetic. So for resources on the test, you can use a calculator. No cell phone calculators. So if you've been using a cell phone calculator, I will bring a handful of calculators to lend if you don't have a calculator to use besides your cell phone. You can use the BPI and SSPI reference sheets and the voting reference sheet. Which is page 9, right? You can bring your 2 alphabet cutouts so that you can use them to make shift ciphers. And you can bring a one-page sheet of notes of your own creation. Okay, front and back. No larger than 8.5 by 11, right on both sides of it. It can contain any material you want, written or typed by you, but you have to write it or type it. Okay, it shouldn't be a photocopy of pages from the packet or the textbook or a photocopy of someone else's sheet. Sort of my way of forcing you to study and write everything down that you know. Yes. That's fine. Yep. Yep. I'm just want you to write it. Yeah. On the test, I'll provide you with several copies of the blank grids that are located on pages 3 and 5 that you use for some of the cryptography stuff to help you organize your work. But they'll all be on the same piece of paper, not sprinkled throughout the test. So you'll just get, at the back of the test, there'll be a bunch of grids that you can use if you want. So my advice is to get a good night's sleep, show all of your work, because the more work you show, the more partial credit I can give, and read the questions carefully. You'll have the whole class period, 1 hour and 15 minutes for the test. It's written to be a 1-hour test. Often people will finish earlier than that. If you need more time, the time limit I have is a little bit relaxed, and I don't have to go anywhere after this, so you don't have to stress about the time. But if you have accommodations or other special test needs, you take your test in the testing center or something like that, talk to me today so I can make sure to have your test prepared for you. No learning objectives for next class, just study for your test. And your assignment for the day after the test is just to do this reading, but you don't have to answer these questions. All right, so things you can do to help prepare for this test. The next page of your packet is this study guide. So there is a whole list of things that explain in detail the things you should be able to do when you come in to take the test. There's a bunch of vocabulary here, though I don't have like a vocabulary matching section or anything like that. You just need to know what these words mean in case they're in a question, right? List of bunch of things you should be able to do. And then there's a list of resources. Look at chapter 1 and 2 in your text, as well as the material on cryptography that's in the packet, because cryptography wasn't in your textbook. Review the homework problems and the activities. The book has lots of additional problems. And then there are sample test problems on the next page that you can do for practice. The answers to these problems, like just the answer, are at the end. So all the answers are here. And you can also find video solutions to these problems by both me and Ian. You can either search for titles like this, 117 sample test 1 problem 3, or there are links in our Moodle site to the video solution playlists for both mine and Ian's solutions. So you can use Moodle to, if you are stuck, see this whole thing being solved in a video. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No. No, I will provide you with grids. They won't be filled in like with what to do, you know, like they won't. So like here it says phrase, numbers, keyword, numbers, add or subtract, multiply. These are like prompts of what to do. Those won't be there. You'll just have a grid, right? So you have to know what to do. The prompts won't be there. Of course. Oh, it will always be mod 26. Yeah, it'll always be mod 26 because there are 26 letters in the alphabet. Yeah.
Both